Morning. I had another nightmare last night. I feel like it was inspired by what I was reading yesterday, which is I Who Have Never Known Men. I finished my book yesterday, and that was my next read. But when I was reading it by the pool, I was thinking like, oh my god, this is so depressing. I don't think I want to read this right now in the summertime. Maybe I would read it in the fall. And so last night I go to bed. I actually went to bed pretty early. I went to bed at 10. And funny enough, I had a hard time waking up. I had a nightmare that I was in a TV show and Beyonce was there. I guess that was like the highlight of my dream. And we were all a part of this show where every time we start filming. I guess it's also kind of inspired by the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo because it was a lot of like filming. I had a dream that I was getting tortured because if I didn't get the take right, we would have to keep doing it over and over again, and there were no breaks, and they would like hit you. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna read this other book. I have another book in my car, so I'm gonna go and get that and read that because absolutely not. I'm already having nightmares as it is. I don't need it to be inspired by this book right now. And it is a really short read, so maybe I'll stick it through, but also I think that should be designated as a fall read and not so much a summer read. It's not like fun, you know? It's just like, damn, this is like super sad. So that is my first thought of today. I'm going to spend the day here at the hotel, of course. We're gonna get to learning again. I'm just looking at the schedule. We're gonna do closing duties, inventory ordering, spa packages, and I'm gonna help check out guests. So that is today. Anyway, time to get the day started. Gonna take some photos. I still might actually. I want to take photos in the conversation pit, and some moody desert shots would be great. So that's my plan for today, and I'm gonna go pick up a lamp in Palm Springs, put some gas in my car, and get some cash. I've been scouring Facebook Marketplace for some mid-century modern and vintage finds, and I've found a few items. I'm contemplating on this table. It's by CB2, and the girl is only selling it for $40. It is 16 inches tall and 30 inches wide. I'm really not sure why it does that. I will probably have to take off the tempered glass screen, but it's this beautiful marbled table. And I asked her, like, how much does it weigh? Because I cannot carry that. It looks heavy. She said it was made out of pure concrete, and her boyfriend, like, she can't lift it. Her boyfriend is the only person that can, which is an indicator that I cannot carry it. So I'm contemplating, but I feel like it would look so pretty with this lamp. This lamp I'm picking up in Palm Springs. So it's 3:00 now. So if I take some photos and hang out at the conversation pit for a little while and then go on to Palm Springs, I'll be able to get it by 4. I spent the morning reading some articles online, and this is the book that I went to go get in my car. This is Finding Grace. This is part of my Book of the Month membership that I've had on pause for a couple months now. I'm probably going to read this, and then, I don't know. It's such a short read, so I feel like I could finish it by the time I leave. Hope, so we'll see. The thunder has kind of been freaking Chandler out a little bit. I really don't have a lot to say, so I'm going to go on with my day. chill day. I read some articles in the morning and I kind of came across this thought today where, like, I do feel lonely a lot, and I also don't know what Chandler has against this freaking yoga mat. I sometimes feel lonely, and I'm really grateful that I have a cat who understands me and is sometimes a menace. One thing that stood out to me today is I want to be the friend that sends articles of blog posts or newsletters that reminded me of this person. I don't want to be the friend that sends memes. I mean, I still do, obviously. Who doesn't love a good meme? You know, I want to be that friend who sees something in a newspaper and cuts it out and says like, oh my God, this reminded me of you. And I wouldn't expect that friend to keep it forever, but if someone were to do that for me, I would, hello, hi. I would place it in my journal and keep it forever. I used to be the friend that people would think of when it came to going to a bar, partying all night, but fortunately I've done like a personal rebrand where I'm the friend that you invite to coffee or to go out to a picnic and things like that. And I do feel lonely a lot. The people that I talk to the most are my clients, and sometimes it sucks because they are people that I could actually see myself being friends with, but I won't cross that threshold. Here, your blanket's right here. There we go. But I discovered this photographer, his name is Sasha, and I have this fascination with birds, and I always have. It's something that I've just never really met anyone who like loved birds the way that I did. It's always like, oh, I know someone who's a birder. Never, oh, me too, I'm also a birder, but I genuinely love birds. One of my favorite birds is a starling, and I have birds tattooed on my body. And sometimes I find myself talking about things like birds that I genuinely love, and I can literally see someone just shut off and just not talk to me or not even reciprocate the energy that I'm giving towards this certain subject, whether it be birds or newspaper clippings or just random things. And sometimes I don't care, but it adds up enough to where I feel lonely and I feel like, damn, I guess the only thing we should talk about is what's trending, what photos we should take, and someone else, which is like, in other words, to gossip. And I don't like that. Sometimes I just feel alone. And sometimes I always feel like I have to explain myself to people, and it's never really fun. Anyway, I felt heard today because there's this photographer named Sasha Elage. So I want to preface this by saying I love to read a lot of articles online, and what I'll do is I will highlight it, right click, highlight whatever I think resonates with me, and I will do a right click and then add it to my Cosmos board, which if you don't know what Cosmos is, it's like a adless Pinterest that's incredibly aesthetically appealing and just my favorite platform right now. And I will add it to my board called Truth Be Told. And it's just like random things that I like to look back on for sources of inspiration. And so I finally find a photographer who shares that same love for birds, the same bird that I love, which is a starling. And the thing I love most about starlings is that they like to hang out in flocks. They're never lonely. And they do these dances in the sky. They are called murmurations, and no one can explain why they do it. And also, I happen to know the history of why starlings are even here. They're not even supposed to be in America. They're supposed to just have stayed. They're supposed to have stayed in Europe, but someone in Europe wanted to bring them over here, and now they are kind of a menace. Anyway, I digress. I finally found someone who loves starlings like I do, and it's so nice because the guy, and I've always had this idea where if I ever see a murmuration in real life, I want to take a photo of it. But sometimes they're so quick, and I never see murmurations that grand. I only see like maybe 50 birds dance around, and then they fly away within seconds. But he was able to capture murmurations of, I don't know, it looks like 100,000 birds just dancing all around. And I'm like, wow, when I'm sad, I love to look at starling murmurations and I just stare at it because to me it's meditative. It's kind of like watching fish in an aquarium. That's that same effect on me. And I felt heard, seen. I mean, obviously this photographer doesn't know I exist. I did feel heard and seen because wow, someone else loves birds the way I do. And another thing is I read his interview on byline.com I love to read articles, and Byline is one of those websites that I could spend hours on. It kind of reminds me of thoughtcatalog.com, and it's kind of giving Tumblr in some points, but this man, he is all about grasping the fleeting feeling of someone else's happiness. And everything that he answered in this interview is exactly what I would say if someone were to ask me why I capture things the way I capture them. To me, photography has always been meditative, and I've always been so annoyed every time someone says, just be in the moment and put your phone away or put your camera away. But to me, that is how I am in the moment, because I feel like I am paying attention and I want to keep it forever. And funnily enough, those were the same people that asked me for the photos the next day. He went into depth about talking about how he really pays attention through photography. And I love that he doesn't try to decode the world or offer a neat narrative. He is literally just paying attention to his surroundings. And he said something along the lines of, I don't mean to know everything in life. All I know is I'm grateful to even be in it and to bask in it and to experience it. And his way of paying attention and loving that moment that he's in is to just take a freaking photo. And I love that he's not all about staged photos. For me personally, I hate staged photos. I love photos where everything is naturally occurring and I get the genuine smile of someone. I get someone's emotions. I get the rawness of everything. And everything that he explained in this article just resonated so well with me. And I was like, exactly. And it's been a long time not a long time, but since I'm constantly reading, but it's been a while since I found a photographer that I just genuinely love and feel so aligned with. Sometimes as a photographer, first of all, I don't really care. I love to take photos of what I take photos of, and I think that the subjects that I take photos of don't necessarily have to make sense. They just make sense to me, and I think that's all that really matters. However, I will say that some people always don't oh, I love how you captured the bed. It's so disheveled, but it's also very aesthetic. Or I love the way you do flat lays, because they don't even look like flat lays. It looks like you dropped everything to the ground and you just took photos and it looks so nice. And that's part of the reason why my clients love me. They're like, your photos look so lived in. And that's exactly what I try to do. I hate staged. And sometimes there are people that genuinely don't understand what I'm doing. And they're like, why are you taking a photo of that? It doesn't really make any sense. And so that part, I feel like I never had an explanation for it until I read this article, because I feel so connected with his work. And I feel like it gives me hope for when someone looks at my work and they say, oh my God, that's exactly how I see the world too. Another thing that I'm genuinely into is light and shadows. I've always been about light and shadows. And he talks about photographing light, presence, and even the wind, which is so beautiful, because these aren't he tries to capture wind, but obviously wind isn't a tangible thing that you can photograph. But he tries to capture that in movements. And it's just so nice, because I would have never been able to dictate the things that he said in this article. When he says, I try to photograph absence, I think that's such a poetic way of describing our work as photographers behind the lens. Anyway, you should read the full interview down below. I highly recommend it. It really moved me this morning. Yeah, today was very slow. I meant to go pick up a lamp in Palm Springs today, but there was a flash flood warning. It was thundering. It didn't rain here, but it was pouring rain in Palm Springs, so I didn't end up going. I spent majority of my day in the conversation pit. I talked with Todd, the owner, and I ate dinner. Last night we went to dinner at Casablanca, which is a Mexican restaurant in the area. It's very good. I will say the service is a little, I ordered a giant bowl of, it was the Combinación Jalisco, which pretty much has 3 different types of meat. And I feel like they give you a pound per meat, but I'm probably exaggerating, but they give you a lot, and they give you a lot of rice and salsa and guac and onions and all the things. And they even give you tortillas. So I figured I would just order one thing and then have it last me until Wednesday or possibly even Thursday when I check out, which I am so sad that I'm leaving on Thursday. I feel like a week has gone by really quickly, and if it were up to me, I would stay here forever. But yeah, I ate dinner this evening, but my stomach was just starting to cramp because I don't think it's used to me eating. So that's just another thing. But yeah, I wanted to leave this off here. I'm going to spend the rest of my evening planning out the next 3 months now that it's basically September. I want to plan out the rest of my year and set some goals and really sort everything out. I do want to go to the Philippines at the end of the year, so I'm trying to see if I can go in December because I do want to spend Christmas with my grandfather. So we'll have to see. But next month is looking pretty booked. I'm already going to be in Carmel once a week, and I will also be attending my childhood best friend's wedding at the end of the month, and I will also be in Sonoma. So the entire month is pretty much planned, and then October is pretty open. Knowing how things go, I'm already going to have that booked up, in November as well, and then the holidays, and that's why I'm really happy. Maybe I should make this into a tradition. I do like to come to Hope once a year. As I mentioned, I like to go in the winter. However, I think it's smart to go right before Q4 happens because it allows me to just come here and just think about everything, plan everything, sit still in silence, and not be overstimulated planning. But I also like to come here during the winter too. And because I was already here for so long this summer, I don't think I'll be returning this winter. But I've spent Christmas here and it was magical. I've spent November here and it was also magical. I've just always come here in the winter. Anyway, I will go to sleep. Well, I'm not going to go to sleep, but I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you stay safe and healthy, happy and sound.